So it'll be interesting to think if you're tuning into the show right now, maybe there's stuff, because drinking coffee is biohack. So maybe you're biohacking already and you don't realise. Let us know some examples that you're doing in your life. 8811 is a text number. That's 88111. Send us a text, or you can tweet us as well at 1xtra. So 88111. So biohackers are, as we mentioned, the movement of people with a desire to improve, alter, and experiment with the human body. Now, taking a DIY approach on everything from nutrition to surgery. On tonight's show, we're going to meet 3 biohackers pushing the boundaries of what we can do with our bodies. So tonight, we're going to be taking a look at the world of biohacking, the movement where people are taking control of their own bodies. Sometimes it involves quite minor changes in diet or lifestyle, but at its most extremes, it means actually installing technology, as Alex was saying, inside the human body. So first up, we're going to hear from someone who's made biohacking an actual job. It's Jenova Rain, is a body piercer and body modifier, who now also offers biohacking procedures like implanting microchips into her clients' hands. Give this a listen.
One Extra Talks.
I used to really begrudge it when I looked at how fast like technology was changing, and growing up with films like The Fifth Element, I'd feel a little bit sad and think, why couldn't I have just been born like 100 years from now, and I would have seen the world in a totally different way, like we'd be in flying cars and we'd be shuttling back and forth to Mars. And now, because I'm what I'm involved with in biohacking, I actually feel like it was the perfect time. My name is Jenova Rain, and I'm a biohacker. I augment people's bodies to do new and interesting things that they couldn't do before. And we're going to do some microchip implants today, and then see if we can get them to interact with everyone's mobile phones. So the most commonly implanted chip is the XNT. So that is the syringe-delivered high-frequency microchip that is compatible with the NFC. NFC being near-field communication, you'll find that in a lot of devices now. It's in almost every phone. It'll probably be in your laptop as well, because most people love the idea of being able to program this with their phones, nice and easy, putting the contact information on there or storing a website on there.
When you say you're going to get an implant, they think, oh, is it kind of tattoo? Is it a kind of piercing? You go, no, it's actually going under the skin and being there for the rest of my life. And they go, oh, okay, that's a bit freaky. I'm Connor, I'm 20 years old, and I'm back today to get my NFC implant. When I got my first implant, I just wanted something that'd be able to unlock my house, unlock my car, unlock anything without having to use keys. And it was like, that was the simplest option, was just to have an implant and be able to do it with that. I'm the only person that I know that has an implant. Quite a weird thing to have. People just go like, can it be tracked? Is it traceable? Does it hurt? The most common one is, can you feel it? And people touch it and it's really weird for them. Like, you say that you've got an implant and they go, oh yeah, you've got an implant. But when they actually feel it, it's like that confirmation of that's a real thing that's under your skin that freaks them out the most. That it's there and they can touch it and it's a bit gross.
So this is my setup. So there's all sorts of stuff that I do in here. I do things like earlobe reconstruction, genital beading. We do some microchips and magnet implants, which is what we're going to have a look at today. Don't be too scared by the size of that needle. I know that looks massive. Microchips, really, the wound itself doesn't need a closure because it's so small. It's the same sort of needle puncture as you'd expect from a piercing. I mean, you don't have closures involved for piercings. I'm going to give you a couple of dots. So we're looking at this triangle here between this knuckle, and basically where they meet here, where the bones meet. So are you ready? Mm-hmm. Nice and relaxed for me. Safety removed from here. Gently going to take the cap off. Just take a nice deep breath in. Super. Cool. And we just push down to unload. Release. Beautiful. I'm going to pinch that for a few seconds. How's that?
That was better than last time.
To be fair, since you had your last one, which is now, how long ago is that roughly?
It must be over a year now.
Yeah, see, I've done quite a lot of implants since then, so yeah, I've got this down to a fine art. How does that feel?
It's great. It feels like I had a needle in there.
like when you have like a piercing or something else, it's like a bit of a sort of slight stinging, slight aching, but like very localized. Oddly enough, there is a very kind of typical customer for my biohacking. Normally people that work in the computer industry or the programming industry, not as alternative maybe as you'd expect.
Yeah, I'm just about to test to see if I can get a read of it, but I'm not expecting to get a read off of it because my phone's quite old and it's just been done, so... Oh, yep, got a read. Yep, it's all good and it's all working. So yeah, now I've got a read to it, I can also write to it. One of my ideas is that I want to have it for work so that when I go into work, I can use it to tap in the morning. When I said it to them, they thought, like, that shouldn't be possible. And I said, yeah, it's completely possible. I'm going to clone that and put it into my hand, and then I'll just tap in that way.
Great journey back. Have a great rest. We're looking to make these implants really useful. We have one thing that can just interact with everything and be really universal. It's so convenient. People will want to use it, and it will become a part of their lives in the same way mobile phones have become a part of everyone's lives. I'd like to say 5 years from now that everybody knows about it. And then I would like to think somewhere around the 10-year mark, it's almost impossible to live without.
One Extra Talk.
BBC Radio 1 Extra. We've got Alex Lethbridge on the show tonight. We are finding out more about biohacking. We just heard Jenova's story there. Alex, I'm scared.
Like existentially, or what are we talking? Like
I don't know
general?
what that word means, but both.
Aye, so existentialism is no. So
Because Will Smith says that a lot.
what?
Existential, yeah.
Well, he's got money, so he can say whatever he likes. He can bungee jump into a canyon. He can do no wrong. Yeah, making that YouTube money. No, I think these things are going to happen over maybe 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And
Well, Jenova said 5 years, I think.
I don't know.
There's going to be a regular thing, like, oh, you got a chip in your hand. Yeah, me too.
I think I don't know, because I look back at like 1950s, 1940s and how they thought the 2000s were going to be, like jetpacks and stuff. But even like Back to the Future, 1985 and stuff, what they thought the 2010s were going to be like.
Yeah.
So what we think the future is going to be like is based on our own pop culture at the time. So, you know, the future could be so much different from what we think of like right now.
And kind of the initial, thoughts on hearing that story then was, it does sound like it's quite dangerous inserting something into your skin. I mean, one false move and you've hit something that you don't want to hit, and it's like, wow, okay, you didn't want that to happen. So are there professionals that you go to if you want this done, or it sounds like a DIY job at the same time, which must be like dangerous? And is there any kind of health and safety regulations that are about at the moment, or can anyone kind of got my chip, let me try this?
I mean, I got a chip in my bag. Do you want to do this? We can make this happen. It is very much a people without really medical professionals. Like they don't have medical experience really. They don't have a lot of biological experience. It's just people who are DIYers. But at the same time, like people can learn how to do tattoos and stuff, which is, not as invasive, but still needles going into your skin. But that does scare me, the idea that it is DIY, and so you can get things like infections and stuff. But I know these people, they really take like a lot of precautions of making things sterile and stuff. But still, the idea that in the future you're going to have like a back alley person who's like, yeah, I'll put a chip in your, yeah, cheap, yeah, we can do it cheap, yeah, cheap, boss, cheap, yeah, no, cheapest. And yeah, it's going to happen.
So you can go to your local boss man and get a chip.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those ones where half the shop sells like vapes and the other half is like, yeah, we'll put a chip in your hand. That's what it's going to be like.
That's insane. That is insane. But what is the science world, as a scientist yourself, what's the science world view on this? Are you looking at it as like these, I don't know what they're doing yet, or these, I don't know how dangerous this can be, or are you all involved in it?
So the idea that the science world is one homogenous thing is a bit dangerous, because like we're all just human beings with lots of different perspectives on things. But I think the general consensus in lots of fields is that these things are potentially dangerous, but they require a lot more rigor and a lot more standardization. Because if people are just doing it willy-nilly to themselves and one person has a bad reaction, another person doesn't, like, you're getting a lot of data from them, but the data is kind of useless because these people are really different. One could be black, one could be Asian, one could be lots of different like experiences. One could have diabetes, like all that stuff. And so it doesn't give us really a way to go, like an avenue to go down, because we can't like say, okay, we've only changed one thing and now we understand all the data behind it. It's just like lots of nebulous bits of data that we can't really do much with in it.
And it's funny because you were joking about it, like going into the shop and half vapes, half chips, but I sense the half of you was actually being serious when you said that. So do you think this is going to be like a mainstream thing where you see your favourite artist has got the latest chip in them and like it turns into kind of like a, you know, how we are with trainers and clothes, like I've got the latest upgraded chip, or with phones and stuff, like do you think it's going to be that you can get one on a contract or finance a microchip? You see all these rappers with finance chips. Do you think that's going to be a thing?
I like the idea that you've not just thought about the sociological implications, but you've actually gone like economics. You're like, yeah, I'm going to finance this chip. Yeah, I'm going to get a brand deal with this chip. But as more and more technology comes out and as it comes into the consumer area, it does permeate. So it does become something you can get on the high street. It does become something that you can compare with your mates and stuff. Like you will get YouTubers who will be like, guess what this chip does? 5 new things with this chip, you know? Things do permeate pop culture as they come out. So like cameras and all that kind of stuff.
And what price range do you think this will be around?
I can't speculate how much like a microchip implant will cost. I don't know what.
Just trying to save.
I don't know what the economics of this is going to be. And also, you really shouldn't try and save on things that go into your body. Like that's the kind of thing you don't skimp on.
But you say that a lot of people go on holidays to Malias and Zantis and get a big tattoo on the back of their back from like someone that clearly doesn't do tattoos. So it's like, you know, there's, do you know what I mean? Like a lot of things that, you know, not that we advise it at all, but even pharmaceuticals and stuff, people will go for, you know, not the legit stuff. So I guess there can be a lot of dangers that come with this in the future as well, not knowing the legit kind of brand to use, I guess.
Yeah, and so that's my main worry with things being DIY, because they aren't really regulated. So there's no, like, there's no consumer guide like people you can go to. It's just, oh, we tried this, or we bought this thing from here, we bought this thing from there. And so if that continues and it doesn't become properly regulated, then you're going to have, like you say, people going to Malia and getting like just a weird knockoff chip, or going on like Alibaba and buying like just weird chips, you know?
Yeah, true. Now, not all biohacking involves surgery, like you mentioned. So Tom Merrick is a body weight training coach, and he's been experimenting with everyday biohacks, making minor changes to a range of aspects in his life.
One Extra Talks.
In terms of a general population, maybe I might seem like a little bit weird, a little bit out there. I'm very much a casual in this space. Like, it's something I'm interested in. I like to self-experiment. But there's people way on the other end of the extreme who are, you know, injecting stem cells into their spine. They're playing with like electrostimulation on their head, and they're, you know, implanting chips into their arms to become like almost like a cyborg. But that's not really my personal emphasis on this, because that's not what I'm trying to get out of it. I'm very much interested in like, how can I maximize myself and my body using mostly kind of natural methods and getting a little bit more in touch with nature, as cheesy as that sounds, rather than kind of trying to mod myself and cyborg myself out to be like kind of crazy and futuristic. My name is Tom Merrick. I coach bodyweight training, gymnastics, strength, handstands, mobility, flexibility stuff, but I'm also very passionate about nutrition, lifestyle, and how that also affects your body. For the past 5 or 6 years, I've been experimenting myself with quote-unquote biohacking, so I thought I would share some of my personal favorites with you. About 6 months ago, I tried something called cryotherapy, which is this crazy kind of futuristic looking thing where you basically step into this chamber and it's oozing with smoke from the liquid nitrogen.
There you go, Tom. How's it feel? Cold. That's really strange.
it's about minus 120 degrees. Your body starts shivering and shaking uncontrollably, and breathing like. Imagine standing outside naked on a winter's day. That's kind of what it would feel like. Feeding this into my everyday life, I do actually do cold exposure. I get in the shower, have a normal shower for a couple of minutes, and then the last 3 to 5 minutes, I'll just whack it full cold, sit there, breathe, and have a cold shower, and it kind of just wakes you up. It has a similar effect to having a coffee, gives you a good buzz, and kind of, for me personally anyway, it sets me for my day. I also try to, once a week, go down to the sea locally, and I swim. We are in the sunny Dorset seaside, and we're currently going to do some cold exposure in the sea. When you step into ice cold water, like nothing else about what's happening with your job or all the other worries in life, that doesn't even come into it. You're just focusing on like surviving and being alive, and that's like quite a refreshing thing. We've just got out of the water. We're going to warm up now. I'm going to make some coffee and do some other biohacks. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding butter and a little bit of other fats into our coffee to give it a slightly different effect to what you'd usually get out of a cup of coffee. The first time I tasted it, I was pleasantly surprised. I was a little bit skeptical with the idea of putting butter in your coffee. It sounds questionable, but when you actually blend it up, it does just taste like kind of a latte. It's quite pleasant tasting. One of the most immediate benefits I felt from having that sort of fatty coffee in the morning was, one, cognitively, I felt much more switched on. And then two, as well, like if I was having a busy day, if I didn't have time to eat, or if I didn't get the chance to eat like until 4 or 5 o'clock, it wouldn't bother me because I wouldn't be hungry. I'd have that fuel source of fat available to me. So this is the room where I end up doing most of my work. So one of the unfortunate side effects of having all of this incredible technology available to us is artificial light. Especially late at night, that blue light can have a detrimental effect on our sleep. So, sat in your bed, staring at Facebook just before you go to sleep actually might mean that you have a worse night's sleep. So trying to remove that blue light as much as possible, I wear a brand of basically blue blocking glasses. So they've got this orange tint to whatever you're looking at. So it just blocks on those harmful blue light. I wear these in the day as well, actually. Nutrition for me is one of the most important things. Like all of these other quote-unquote biohacks, they're all nice to have, but if you don't have a foundation of, good nutrition, some good water, a little bit of exercise, then really they're kind of pointless on top. They all go together. Biohacking is an interesting one. If we look at the term itself, the whole idea is about taking control of your biology. For me, being a bit more casual about it, I just see it as the ability to make changes in your body, whatever the desired effect is. So whether that's, as simple as just losing weight or building some muscle, or it might be to improve your energy, improve your performance, improve your focus. Perhaps you have, an issue that can be really affected through lifestyle stuff, and you can kind of hack that and get rid of those problems. What's in the future for myself personally is always about the continued experiment of whatever's going on in my life. A lot of this is relatively safe as long as you don't take things to the extreme.
One Extra Talk.
It's One Extra Talks. It's Reece Parkinson here. It's BBC Radio 1 Extra. We're talking about biohacking on tonight's show. We've got Alex on the show tonight as well. Alex, just a reminder, what is biohacking again?
So biohacking is sort of a nebulous collection of people who look at ways to augment the body either through nutrition or more advanced in like tech, putting it in your body and stuff.
Or wearing blue blocking glasses and looking like Edgar Davids.
No, I realise you don't look like Edgar Davids. You look like a particularly stylish PE teacher.
Thanks. Mr. Meany would be proud. But with these, so as an experiment, I wore these twice this week before going to bed. Only problem with wearing sunglasses, when you do fall asleep, you have the risk of like hurting your eye. Like falling asleep on the glasses is not smart. But using them, I did realise how bright a phone screen actually, I know it sounds quite stupid, but how bright actually is when you're wearing them. Then you take it off, like in the studio now, just taking them off. The light that we used to film, you're like, whoa, this is like a whole new world, and how powerful that light must be to you. So what is that light doing to us if we're not wearing these blue blocking glasses?
So like with research, not a lot really is known. It's just the thought that perhaps this blue light makes you feel less sleepy. So by being able to block it, you might have a better sleep experience. So during the day, if you wear them, you might be able to later sleep better.
And Tom was saying, we just heard him say about, if you do some of these biohacks, like relatively, not go extreme, you're going to be okay. But, going extreme, you mentioned some earlier, but what are some other kind of extreme things that you've heard or seen some people do which you really wouldn't recommend? Because, I'd imagine listening to the show tonight, you're like, I want to get involved in biohacking, like this sounds fun. But what are some of the extremes that you just shouldn't, you think, do as of yet?
I think generally people shouldn't really be doing some of the extreme stuff like putting like genetic material into their bodies, try and make their muscles bigger, that kind of stuff, or like trying to put stem cells inside your penis to make it bigger, that kind of stuff. Things that people do currently, that's extreme.
Does sound extreme.
Yeah.
It's Sunday night tonight. A lot of people obviously are going to work tomorrow. Now, the first thing, my mum does it, is wake up, coffee. Now, what's bulletproof coffee? What's the difference here between normal coffee and bulletproof coffee?
Okay, so when I've looked into it, bulletproof coffee is just coffee with added fat, so butter plus another like fat. And it's meant to make you feel more alert. It's meant to make you feel more primed for the day. And to be honest, I don't buy it.
Okay, have you tried it though?
I've tried a particularly fatty coffee before, and it doesn't really do much for me. Like they say that I think it blocks out mycotoxins in the coffee beans and stuff, and they say that's new and novel. But coffee growers have known that for a very long time. It's all these things that people think are great, but I think are buzzwords to sell products. Always got to follow the money.
Okay. What they like. Now we're going to hear, talking about extreme, we're going to meet someone who is pretty much extreme, at the extreme end of biohacking movement. Lepht. Now, Lepht experiments at home, even operating self-surgery. Now, I must warn you, tuning to the show right now, some of what you're about to hear might make you feel a bit queasy, so please do not try this at home.
One extra talk.
The first thing I remember thinking was like, this is really scratchy. Like a scalpel is really scratchy, it turns out. You see on TV where somebody just makes like one little gentle incision and the whole thing opens up really nicely. It turns out that's not actually how your skin works at all. Like I had to keep scraping away with this. It was brand new, really sharp scalpel. My name's Lepht Anonym and I'm a biohacker. I think I'm the person who started first using the word biohacker. I didn't see anyone using the word before me. I was getting really into transhumanism itself at the time. Really interesting stuff, only it was all really, really, really theoretical. It was all like, here are theories about how cryogenics might affect people in the future, and here are like potential anti-aging applications and stuff, and I just wanted to do something practical. I ended up on a website looking at RFID stuff. RFID tags are like little electronic chips that can be used for really short-range tracking. Like, they can't be used to, follow you around a town or something, but you can use them to, say, unlock your front door. I ended up looking at these, and then I realized, like, wait, there's these little glass ones. I wonder if anyone else has put these in their hands or something, because, they're tempered glass. Like, they wouldn't break. You could do that. I remember just thinking, like, well, that's really interesting. I gotta try that. So I did. I got a disposable scalpel and I got a mate to spot me, and we bought a load of iodine and we swabbed everything out and bleached the kitchen. And at this point I was using a scalpel, like I said, rather than a needle, and it turns out that a scalpel is not really the best idea, but it's still there, it's still in my hand. But yeah, this is my drawer of, obviously there's some other stuff in there, but let me show you. This is the smaller kind of needle. These are all a bunch of dressings under here. I more or less have like this whole giant collection of weird stuff, but you can see there's a few bandages in here. There's paracetamol, there's various kinds of plasters. Sorry, everything's like not in order at all. Depending on what procedure I was going to do, I get various supplies in, but this is just stuff that I have, hanging around the house. After I sort of got bored with doing things with the RFID, I was kind of at the same time looking into these little magnet things. They don't really have a technical name. I've been saying nodes, but the gist is that they're little tiny pieces of neodymium, which is a strong magnetic metal. You'll see, obviously, if somebody has them, they can pick up like paper clips and stuff, which is sort of like the novelty effect of them. But what they actually do is they give you a sense of electromagnetic current radiation. If a device gives off that radiation, you can feel it. If, a power line is radiating it very strongly, you can feel that. If your phone gets a text, like you'll feel that in a pulse if you're holding it. The procedure for implanting the magnets is a bit brutal. You need to put your hand sideways on the table. I use a 5mm diameter needle blade, big needle. And then you sort of put the needle on vertically and lean on it. It really, really hurts. The first few times that I did it, my vision sort of whited out. So once you've got your little hole, you pull it out, and then you get your magnet, you make sure it's sterile, and then you just kind of have to just jam it in there. That was the big epiphany from it for me, was the realization that actually you could do this with a lot of different stuff. So that leads into what I'm still trying to do now, which is I am trying to make a little compass device. All this guy would do is have a ring of electrodes around your ankle, and whichever one is closest to north, it would set off with some current. And in theory, that should let you constantly sense where north is, and that should hook up into your brain the same way. That's where it interests me, the fact that you could use this in all sorts of different applications. I think if you look on this from the outside, it would just look like some crazy form of self-mutilation. And unless you understood the driving force behind it, which is just curiosity. And not really curiosity in the sense of, what will happen if I do this, but more in the sense of what interesting information could I get out into the wider world that could come from this, and then what could other people do with that information? Every discipline of science seems to have started at some point, no matter how far back, with somebody just doing things on their own because they found them fascinating. I like that idea of being able to tinker with stuff, make small discoveries, put those tiny discoveries out, and then have other people who are actually proper scientists or who've got a lot more, intelligence, time, resources. Those people can work on what you've got and create something really, really interesting.
One Extra Talks.
With myself, Reece Parkinson. We've got guests on the show today as well. We've got Alex. Now, hearing that, do you think some of these experiments can actually, we spoke about some of the stuff that's extreme, and it does sound like, wow, if that does actually happen, like this might be a bad thing. But, on the other side of that, do you think there's actually some positives that can come with biohacking for mankind, as extreme as that sounds?
I think that it's an extension of creativity, and I think being able to show creativity with your body, like tattoos and stuff, that's brilliant. In terms of what we can do medically, I feel as though some of it won't really have a major effect on humanity and stuff, because I think the things that are really great about that, they might already be done hidden, in a hidden way by militaries and big pharmaceutical companies and stuff, but who aren't putting it out there because it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. And where do we go from after the chips? One thing you were saying off mic, which I was really interested in, is being able to have the hairline that you want to last forever. So that's a positive to me.
Yeah, completely. So I was talking about the idea that eventually in the future, when we really understand it, and not just for hype and stunts, we might have the ability to control certain aspects of what happens in the cell. And if we could have a way of always having hair follicles that work, and so you don't get your hairline going, you could have the perfect crisp hairline if you could control the parts of the cells that control hair growth. That could be amazing.
Me and you are going to talk after the show. But with stuff like disease and being able to live longer as well, does that play a part in?
I think...
Or is that another conversation?
I think it's partially another conversation, because that comes into transhumanism, which lives in this same sphere, which is how to build a better human with technology. And under biohacking, under transhumanism, under all that, is that they don't want to die. People do not want to die. So they find a way of making things better, and that might be trying to cure disease. we are entering the world of like genetics and medicine. So if you could use medicine to stop things like cystic fibrosis, that could be amazing, or multiple sclerosis, all of these things. So it could happen in the future, but I think these not stunts, but the things people are doing now, they might not have a massive effect on it.
Okay. Alex Lethbridge, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Look, thanks.
And best of luck with your PhD as well. And be nearly finished, you said?
I've got the last 14 days in the lab, and then I'm back in London. So no longer will I be the only black person in a place.
There's got to be more than one black person in Bath. I guarantee someone will text in now.
Now, there are 5 of us, and I only know that because I've met the other 4 to try and get some Maggie cubes.
Alex, thanks for coming on the show.